a big session after lunch. I hope you're all feeling still fresh and ready and creative. Have some questions and so for creative questions. Okay, again, if you have any questions and you want to send them as a post-it, then please pass them to any staff. Are there staff going around with mics and with post-its so that you can send? There's somebody here that wants to send a question, or you want to ask it right now? Okay, you can write it down or you can ask it. Okay. Right. Well, thanks very much. This was really informative and very diverse approaches. I feel like, am I wrong to say that Bandung and Penang must have lots of money now from the government? It certainly sounded a bit like that compared to our situation here. But maybe it's just a perception because you have the mayor now being, the former chairman now being mayor, and you are a government agency, so that closes the gap a little bit. So if you could raise your hand if you want to ask any questions. Well, why don't I start with you then? Why don't you, can we have a mic here for her? A spare mic? We should have a spare mic. Where we have 4 mics. Where are all the mics? ทีมงานเทคนิคไมค์อยู่ไหนครับ Please, one question, not 2.
My question is actually for the Indonesia team. And it's very much related to what you have just mentioned about the money or support from the government. So from what I know, recently Indonesia has formed a Ministry of Creative Industries and Tourism. And they also just signed an MOU with the UK DCMS in 2013 to support the development of the creative industries in Indonesia. So my question here is, since you have the Ministry of Creative Industries, did they, offer more support, and how is the support since then?
Okay, this works. So yeah, we do have Ministry for Tourism and Creative Industry, and one personnel from the ministry is here with us now. So he's here. Yeah, they have a lot of programs, but actually, I can say that most of their programs are referring to what Bandung has been doing. So it's also a new thing for them, and of course they have this. We move faster because we are a non-government organization. We are independent, but they have this a lot of constraint with policies and budgeting and so on. So they move more strictly and more in a bureaucracy way. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we have lots of supports from them yet in materializing supports, but it has something to do with the political direction of the leaders. And we're going to have an election this year, and if depends on who the president is and if the ministry is still going to be there, we don't know that yet. So things can change. Adding something?
Indonesia is a big country, big, there's a lot of cities. The priorities from the ministries to develop, to accelerating the cities, the other cities outside Java Island. The priority is to create creativity to the, pulau kecil, the other smaller island. I think it's the priority of the ministry today, yes.
Kevin, yes, please. Can we have the mic for Kevin? Kevin.
My questions also go for Bandung as well. You mentioned earlier about the design thinking action, right? So my question is, how much do people in Bandung really understand about the design thinking? The challenge we have here, even for CCDC, is like when we say the word design or even design thinking, most of the Thai people usually think about the shape or the color, and that's it. And it's kind of hard for us to try to educate this sort of thing.
Yes. Well, the short question will be not much, and we didn't realize that what what we have been doing is actually design thinking. So we knew when this Professor Uli Weinberg from HPI school in Potsdam, Berlin, he came to us in 2012 and he saw what we were doing, and what you're doing is actually design thinking. So then we know that there's a theory, there's a concept, and so on, because those came from the Western country usually. So he just said, okay, do whatever you've been doing, because that's actually the implementation of design thinking. You just don't call it that yet. And that's why we call it design action. And we're trying to implement this in any sectors, like the government, bureaucracy, business, and so on. And we are doing this with BCCF to solve urban problems. So that's what our effort is. Thank you.
Question to Think City. It seems to be that you focus a bit more on you said it's not about cultural preservation, but there seems to be also a lot working on architectural and the urban regeneration, and there's a World Heritage program, and so how about the more sort of creative cities? So for example, are you talking about applying for the Creative City Network instead of only the World Heritage side, and are you working more with the design side, things like that? What is going on in sort of in the discussions that happen behind the scenes?
In a nutshell, I think what we are trying to do is to provide seed funding for a wide variety of community-related programs. Now, having said that, it's also quite vital to view creative city from another angle, which is being creative about the city. Now, I know this sounds a bit strange and abstract, but let's take urban planning, for example. It's sort of, we knew that it was, I know this is going to sound very, very strange, but in Malaysia, a lot of the times resources are allocated without having done any baseline study, without having real information from the ground up. And what we decided to do was to fund a baseline study with you. The reason why you see a lot of our programs being related to heritage is because simply we operate in a UNESCO World Heritage Site. But that provided the foil and the opportunity to be very creative about city making. And as you can see from the Bandung example, a governmental agency need not actually have to do the work themselves. You can fund creative people to take up those opportunities. Now, with specific regards to creativity, just as Joe's festival is an aggregator of creative people and creative design, what we do is we then provide funding specifically for that. So what we have done now is we have secured one building in Georgetown, and we are using that as a flagship for our arts and heritage and culture programs. Don't know whether that answers your question, but the best thing to do, of course, is to come to Penang and we can show you everything. Yeah.
I liked it. Like that one, yes. That's what I always say when I go somewhere else. Come to Chiang Mai, yes, exactly. So we will certainly want to come. Questions from you, raise your hands so that I know who's waiting to be able to ask a question. Vanessa, you've done that, you're getting ready with your questions. Vanessa, you mentioned you have done this study that is kind of quite international or global, comparing the creative economy in different places. How do you feel Thailand is currently at with the creative economy from a sort of macro perspective? I mean, is there, over the last sort of 3 to 5 years that you looked at Thailand, has it increased the attention, the policies, or is it sort of reduced, or, where is Thailand compared to other places?
We haven't yet managed to do an analysis, a policy analysis of what is happening in Thailand. We have been trying to work, it was, I think, mentioned by Kun Kawin that the creative economy was one of the pillars of the Thai policy a few years ago. And this was pretty much in line with a global trend of a middle-income country trying to acknowledge the importance of knowledge-based economy and wanted to move towards that trend. Now it seems that with the change of government and the current situation, things have gone to a little bit of a standstill at the policy level. So creative economy was officially part of what is called the UN Government of Thailand Joint Partnership for the period 2012 and 2016. But as of now, we still haven't managed to start these activities because the Thai government is constantly restructuring itself. Having said that, this is at the policy level. At the local level, we can see that things are happening and that in Bangkok, some clusters are burgeoning. Creative Chiangmai is another example. So things are happening. Like in many countries in this field, it seems that the private sector and the civil society will start by dragging the sector. And this is one thing that is totally acknowledged by the theoreticians. So it's pretty much in line. Now, at which pace will it go and how will the legal and soft infrastructure be able to support that is it's a different question that I cannot answer at that stage.
Okay, we've got time for one. Is that a question in the back? Yes, okay.
Hi, my name is Ellen. I'm from British Council, Indonesia. My question is for the Think City program. There are two questions. One is, how do you start to approach different stakeholders in the beginning? Because you come up with a seed funding in the beginning, so it feels like suddenly the government have money and everyone could come. But then how do you select and also make strategy that actually this is just a start, so people would not be dependent on this seed funding? Actually, just one question. Thank you.
The grants program that we did, there's 6 criteria that Neil has mentioned earlier. So when we identify the project, it has to be catalytic, it has to be innovative, creative, and it must be impactful. So we started off with physical conservation because you can actually see building conservation. And once we have done the buildings, then we went into the content, which then we did the culture mapping projects. So we work together with the community to identify what are the ideal projects, and then we do a public-private partnership with them. So in that way, they actually accept that there's free money coming in if they actually participate in it. Maybe Neil want to add on?
And how do we identify the stakeholders? It was very tedious, but basically we went almost like house to house, almost. I mean, it's a city of, the UNESCO site was about 10,000 people, and we had the first 3 months of the program just socializing the idea. People didn't believe that the government was giving out free money. Clan associations were very worried that this was like the first step, the Trojan horse. Maybe said something wrong, huh? But essentially, that was the process. Of course, and earlier we had a question from the floor. What happened to creative people? Creative people not necessarily are very entrepreneurial, and so what we do is we actually try to match them with entrepreneurs. I mean, someone like Joe, for example, has a background in manufacturing, in business. And it's someone like him that actually will help the struggling artists. Because my personal belief that as long as they're struggling, they're creative.
Quick question to Bandung. You said you have applied for the UNESCO Creative City Network, which is very interesting because Chiang Mai has been discussing that. Although we've been discussing it for quite some time now. I don't know when you submitted your application. Was it just recently for the deadline this year, or was it before UNESCO closed temporarily? And also, what was the process for deciding on the category? Was it an obvious one for Bandung, or was there discussions on what were the alternatives? How did you sort of go through that process? And anything else you comment on this application to UNESCO, that would be great.
Vicky is the head of the application team, but I'll answer first. We have our names listed in the mayor's list of those who have to do the documents in the end of 2012. And by then, UNESCO is still running with the program. But then, so we held meetings. So it's more like top-down structure. So we held meetings facilitated by the Ministry of Tourism and Creative Industry and by the Department of Tourism and Culture in Bandung. So we held this seminar and we asked the stakeholders of Creative City in Bandung which direction we should go. So we used to have the choice of City of Design or City of Music or City of Culinary. And looking at the requirements of the UNESCO of what data we have to submit, we fit more into the design part. So that's how we decided that. And then we visited Paris and we went to UNESCO in June 2012 to check what happened to our application because we submitted our first version already. And then they said that they are now pending. Then they start again this August also, 2013. They have totally different format. So what we showed you earlier is the third format, third draft of our application. Now they have a totally different one, which is like just a PDF form. We just have to fill in online. So
very boring, actually.
Yeah, Creative City, which is not a creative form, but so creative people have to learn to be concise. I think. Vicky, you have something to add? Nothing. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome to comment, but you don't have to, Vanessa. But any other questions? We have 1 minute left. Anybody of you wants to say any other last ones? We've got 1 minute extra to drink coffee and have a snack. So this is, I think, good news. This is what we need, a bit more time for socializing amongst ourselves. Great, thank you. See you back in 30 minutes.